So where were you during the zombie war? I was holed up in a shopping mall with a group of unusual and eclectic characters. We had lots of clashes of personality, but eventually we won the day, sort of, except for then we all died. It's exactly the kind of story you will not find in World War Z. World War Z is another zombie book, because I said I was going to be checking out zombie books, and it was written by Max Brooks, who also wrote the Zombie Survival Guide, which I have not read yet. I probably should. This book is sort of a follow-up to the Zombie Survival Guide, but instead of, being a survival guide, it's a story about the actual zombie war, or World War Z. Now here's the dealio. I actually listened to this book, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. I know that, some people are like, well, listening to a book, you can't get the same as reading it. I think you can, but that's a totally different argument, because this audiobook is extremely well made. It is fully voice acted, so every character is played by a different person. Some people play a few different characters. It has amazing actors in it, such as Alan Alda, who, if you don't know who that is, he's awesome. He's awesome. Go find out about Alan Alda. Also got John Turturro, Rob Reiner, and Max Brooks himself as the sort of narrator. Yeah, it is worth it to listen to it. Have you ever heard of the War of the Worlds radio broadcast? I'm not talking about the terrible movies. I'm talking about the original War of the Worlds radio broadcast, which was broadcast on October 30th, 1938 by Orson Welles, who was doing a Halloween show for the radio program he was part of. And they created something that scared the pants off of everybody, because they made a radio broadcast about aliens attacking as though it was a real news broadcast and it was really happening. And it sounds really real. Like, even today I can listen to it and allow my imagination to believe it. And that's what this does with all of the voice actors and everything. It feels real. I'm gonna go see the movie when it comes out, obviously, and I listened to it. I didn't read it, but after listening to it, I can't imagine how reading it would be better, because my imagination is not going to do nearly as well at making this feel real as these voice actors did. It is incredibly well done. Okay, that out of the way, go listen to it. Now we're going to talk about a few of the things that I liked and didn't like in World War Z. I'm going to try to keep this fairly spoiler-free. There might be a few things that I reveal, but nothing that's going to ruin your reading experience. Let me read the back. Threw it on the floor too soon. The zombie war came unthinkably close to eradicating humanity. Max Brooks, driven by the urgency of preserving the acid-etched first-hand experiences of the survivors from those apocalyptic years, traveled across the United States of America and throughout the world. From decimated cities that once teemed with upwards of 30 million souls to the most remote and inhospitable areas of the planet. He recorded the testimony of men, women, and sometimes children who came face to face with the living, or at least the undead, hell of that dreadful time. World War Z is the result. This invaluable chronicle reflects the full scope and duration of the zombie war. Bam! Okay, and that is what this book does, or at least tries to do. So let's talk about it a little bit. Fairly spoiler-free. As you guys know, the characters in a zombie story are the best part of any given zombie story. They're the reason that you watch, listen, read. And of course, something that focuses on characters who have been through the zombie war is going to be like your best experience for your zombie story. So it works really well with these interviews that he does with all of these people who have survived the zombie war. It's pretty obvious by reading the back that humanity did win the zombie war, which is probably more realistic. We would eventually come out on top. Probably. I love, of course, that a lot more of the world is represented. It's not just shiny beacon America in this zombie war. America! It is the entire world, and we get to see different countries that are maybe doing better at fighting the zombies than America is. It also feels very realistic how we could initially start to lose the war. I know a lot of military people in my life, and I know how the military is viewed as like this perfect machine, and I know in real life how it tends to foobar things up pretty spectacularly sometimes. Sorry, the military, it's true. Your favorite saying is hurry up and wait. Yeah, so the military is not prepared for this kind of enemy and does not have the right weapons and stuff for this kind of enemy, which you'll read more about in the book or listen to. And so you can see and understand how we kind of start to lose this war. It is still a teeny bit of suspension of disbelief, but I can really still believe it. I can suspend that little bit of disbelief that I need to. I mean, it's zombies. I'm having to suspend less disbelief for this book than I usually do. There's a lot of politics and tactics in this book. This author, Max Brooks, really seems to enjoy figuring out the political machinations / describing the military weapons and tanks and stuff like that that are used, which I'm gonna admit is not my favorite part. That kind of stuff just kind of bores me. I don't really care what kind of weapon you're using to shoot a zombie. I want to know what's going through your head while you're doing it. And he does do that too pretty well. Upon finishing this book, I really loved every character that he came up with. Every time a new character came along, I was like, this is my new favorite character. And then this is my new favorite character, because it's just kind of a series of interviews with all of these characters who survived the zombie war. But when I finished, I felt like I wanted more, which you think, oh, that's good, a book should make you want more. But it almost felt like the author just ran out of steam, like it wasn't a complete book. That's gonna sound weird, but it felt like there should have been more to it. Maybe that's just me. I mean, it's good to want more, because that means you enjoyed the book, right? But at the same time, it shouldn't feel like the author left stuff out. Because at the beginning of the book, it really stresses, the author has this little thing where he's, talking to his publisher, and he really stresses, I want to get the human element. I don't just want to state facts about the war. I want to get the human element. And there were several times where he was just talking to sort of civilians. But there were equal or more times where he was talking to soldiers and politicians, which was interesting to hear about, how the world going politically. Or he's talking to, spies and people who are not civilians, who are people who are higher up in the ranking. And I wanted to hear more from civilians. I really wish that there had been more of that. I wanted to hear from maybe local law enforcement, what they were doing during the zombie war. I wanted to hear from a kid born during the zombie war. Or there were these, I don't think this is going to spoil too much, there are these kids who, their parents have died in the zombie war, and so they're just kind of running wild. And they're in these street gangs, and eventually they can be rehabilitated. I want to hear the story of a rehabilitated one of those guys. I felt like there needed to be more humanity in a story that talks about how it's going to be about the human angle. It still felt kind of cold and clinical a lot of the time, and I didn't really like that as much. Also, I would have liked him to go into the science a little bit more, and I know one of my favorite things to say is that the science hardly matters as long as the characters are good in a zombie story. But he went into such detail about the politics and about the soldiering and the weapons and the types of weapons and all that stuff that I really wish he'd gone more into the science of the zombies. And he could have made a lot of stuff up with that. He wouldn't have had to do as much research. Just maybe more with he's got a few doctors in there, but maybe more with the doctors and what caused it, where did it really come from, so we kind of know where it came from a little bit, and maybe why do the zombies work this way? I can understand why the author wouldn't want to tackle that, because that is a lot to talk about, and it's kind of how do you figure out the science of zombies, but I wish there had been more. Or any of that. There really wasn't any. All in all, though, I really enjoyed World War Z. I think it needs to continue. There needs to be a second book with even more accounts of the zombie war. I am fascinated by it, and I would love to hear more. Definitely check out the book on tape version. It's in my opinion, the optimum way to see it. And when I go see World War Z in the theaters, you can rest assured that I'll be doing a first impressions review of that. Eventually, because I'm really, really busy right now. Stupid, I hate it. Okay, those of you who are here for the World War Z book review, you can go. But I'm going to do a little sort of vlog I've been thinking about doing for a while, which is just sort of my personal opinion, why zombies, why I love them so much, why I think that they're my favorite of the big three monsters of vampires, werewolves, and zombies. So if you're interested in that, stick around for a couple more minutes. If you were just here for the book review, see you later. Alright, so why zombies? Why do I like zombies? Well, first of all, I'm going to say I'm a little bit of a zombie hipster. I liked zombies before they got really popular, and I'll continue to like zombies after they're not as popular anymore, which is coming. People are getting really sick of zombies now. That happens whenever there's something that comes into the, the popularity and the public consciousness, and everyone's really gung-ho, and then it fades away. And people who are not fans to begin with are like, oh man, zombies, I'm so sick of zombies. Ugh, they're too oversaturated right now. But those of us who always loved zombies are just happy to finally have some good zombie stuff out there. But that doesn't answer the question, why zombies? Zombies have been around for a long time, and they've had a lot of different causes. The first sort of popular zombies were voodoo zombies, which were people either brought back from the dead or possessed by some sort of shaman, voodoo practitioner. And then there were zombies that were caused by like radiation from the sun, and we were scared of radiation. And now zombies are caused mostly by disease. And it just kind of, I like that zombies are a great window through history to what frightens us the most. Like, we're afraid of magic, and then we're afraid of space. What could come from space and what sort of radiation could come from space. And now we're afraid of germs. Because, yeah, we are terrified of germs. Like, every year a new terrible germ comes out that we're all supposed to be terrified of. And I've just given up being terrified because it's like, whatever happens, happens, really. There's no point in being terrified always. But zombies are a great window into what we're afraid of. And one thing that we're always sort of universally afraid of is creatures that look like people but don't act like them, and they want to harm us. So like, there's something fundamentally, delightfully terrifying about that the zombie could be your family. Your mother could become a zombie, and then what do you do? It's something that looks like a person. We revel in that uncanny valley of something that looks like a person but isn't a person anymore. Something has happened to them, and now they are reduced to our most ridiculously base desire, which is apparently to shuffle and want to eat. Now just flesh. It used to be brains, but now they want flesh, to eat all of people, and to infect. They want to infect. That's what zombies want to do now more than consume. They want to infect. Because we, as I said, are terrified of germs, and what's scarier than something that goes around spreading germs to us, turning us into a monster? That's pretty terrifying. I think far more terrifying than, say, a vampire. They do sort of infect you, but especially with today's modern sexy vampires, that's not very scary. Oh no, I'm going to live forever and be hot for always. Or, oh no, I've been bitten and I'm going to turn into a horrible creature and I won't be me anymore, and I'll try to kill the people I love. That is where the real horror comes from. Another reason that I love zombie stories is, of course, because of the characters. It's one of my favorite, like, tropes scenarios. Maybe I'll make another video about more of my favorite tropes, whatever. Is people that don't know each other from different walks of life that are forced together by something, and we have to learn about those characters, and they either have to work together or not to escape the no-win scenario. That is one of my favorite types of stories, and that is the zombie story in a nutshell. You've got that creepy-ass threat of people that look like people you used to know but aren't anymore, and you're wondering, could we maybe save them? And you're trying to get away, but they're everywhere. There's hordes of them, and just when you think you're safe, there's another one around the corner, and you have to work together with these people that you've just met and survive, and you probably won't. That, to me, is like my ultimate enjoyment in a story. It's my favorite kind of story. So that's why I continue to love zombie stories when other people are going, oh man, another zombie story? Oh, so bored of it. Whatever. And of course I will take this opportunity to say, check out my zombie book. You can buy it on my Etsy store. It is about a girl named Deidre who is a teenager, and she is, of course, caught in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. I take up the zombies in a slightly different angle. They're slightly less interested, though not disinterested, in eating children. So most / all of the adults in Deidre's life are now gone, and she has to survive in an abandoned factory with a bunch of other people who are none of them over the age of 18. I love to write about characters, so the characters are the focus, definitely. Lots of interesting characters to meet. But check it out. It's at my Etsy store. Help me out. Buy it. If I have more money, I can make more videos. Ah. Shameless plug. So zombie stories for me will always be fun, and zombies will be one of my favorite monsters, always. And I hope that we will continue to enjoy some good zombie books, movies, radio plays in the future. So don't get too sick of zombies, because they really are a very cool monster, and they really do let us explore a lot of very deep and human things about ourselves. Tune in next time when we'll talk about something, I'm sure. See ya. There's a zombie on your line.